This is video number 2 about the bottom-two runoff ranking method. You can pause it if you want to read what's wrong with choose one. I won't go through all of it just to save time. Here's more. You can pause this if you want to read it. But some of this here about vote splitting and only working right when there are two candidates, that also applies to ranking. Even though it's a lesser problem with a ranking method, but it still exists. If you get a chance to vote for something other than choose one, please do. That would be smart. And then over here is an alternate 2016 elections, what might have been. I'd think people would enjoy those choices better than Gary Johnson and Jill Stein. Anyway, that could have been if it wasn't a choose one final. If you could indicate preferences or various levels of approval or something like that, that would have been good. Anyhow, I wanted to touch on approval voting very briefly. You can pause that too if you want to. There we go. Read about approval there. Approval shit tells you popularity. Choose one tells you who's the favorite of the largest voting bloc. Ranking actually tells you which candidate is preferred, preference. That's what ranking tells you. So they tell you different things. But now I'm going to shift into ranking. I just want people to know about approval because it's very simple to count approval. You just count the votes. But ranking ballots are more precise, meaning the ballot itself allows the people more options, more precise options. It's actually it's actually very impressive in that way. However, it depends upon the evaluation method. If the evaluation method is accurate or fair, that makes a big difference. And instant runoff or Australia-style ranked choice, it might eliminate a Condorcet winner, which is the strongest candidate in an election who would defeat other candidates head-to-head. So the suggestion is allow a head-to-head comparison before eliminating a candidate. Think of it as a double check. That would indicate a much more accurate preference. On the subject of Condorcet, I'm not advocating a Condorcet method, even though I think that wouldn't be so bad. A lot of people don't like Condorcet methods. The Marquis of Condorcet figured out in the 1700s, according to the internet, he figured out the fair way to do a ranking comparison is with two candidates at a time. So where you see F over E, F over D, that means F defeated the other candidate head-to-head. If F defeats everyone head-to-head, then he's the Condorcet winner, or some people call it a Condorcet candidate. There's a Condorcet criterion that says a Condorcet winner should win the election. If he doesn't, then that election failed the Condorcet criterion. I think that's a valid and important criterion. It's worth mentioning that every first choice majority winner is also a Condorcet winner. That's just for reference. There are more people who are Condorcet winners who don't have a majority, but I think it's important to realize that for all the people that demand a majority winner, even if they have to manufacture one. So Australia-style ranked choice, let's look at that one first. We see on the left column, Z is eliminated for having a shortage of first choice votes. And that's kind of sad because you don't know which one of these is the strongest candidate. They're all evenly matched in first choice votes. And we see in the next step in the election, X and Y head-to-head. Y is the winner. Okay, that's fine. And we'll come back to that. But I want to look at the solution that I'm proposing, the Condorcet-compliant solution, Bottom-Two Runoff IRV, which is the same method except you add an extra step in every round where you have a head-to-head comparison. You can read about it at electowiki.org. There's a couple of articles on there currently about it, and they were talking about changing the name. I don't know. But anyway, in the bottom-two runoff version, you can see Y and Z go head-to-head because they're the bottom two candidates. And it would make more sense, probably be more obvious if there were like 6 candidates and the bottom two go head-to-head. That makes more sense. You're deciding which one to eliminate. But it still holds up when there's 3. You know, Y can be thought of as the second favorite or the second least favorite. Anyway, Y versus Z head-to-head, Z wins. X versus Z head-to-head, it just so happens in this election, Z wins. And the reason Z is able to beat the other two is because he inherits voters from the one that's not in that comparison. Like this is the second to last round, where, here's my finger, there, that's the first part of the second to last round. That's the second part of the second to last round. And then in the last round, there's only 2 candidates remaining. So that's the same as the last round in Aussie-style ranked choice, where they're head-to-head, except we have the right candidate in the last round. Z is the candidate who should win. He's a Condorcet winner. He defeats both of the other candidates head-to-head. X is a Condorcet loser. He loses to the other 2 candidates head-to-head, so X had no business even being in the top 3. X is the spoiler, not Z. X is. Anyway, having more than 2 in a ranking comparison causes vote splitting. That's the problem with Aussie ranked choice, and I freely admit it only happens maybe less than 1% of the time in the United States so far. That's what the statistics are telling us. I believe that's because the low error rate in Aussie ranked choice, I believe that's because people compensate. People are trained to just automatically go with party front runner. You know, it's just part of our psyche as voters in the United States. We've been trained by the choose one election. Also, I believe that the 2-party system has a little something to do with it too, where you know, a lot of the time your 2 front runners are going to be one Democrat, one Republican, and then the third place guy won't be very strong, and so there's not much vote splitting, not enough to throw the election. Anyhow, that's I guess that's my explanation, and I guess that'll have to suffice. I think there were other things I wanted to mention, but I got to get the video done, and thank you very much for watching. You can check the description for a link to the other video in this 2-part series, 2 parts so far. Thank you.